Here we have two databases, and we have AdventureWorks and we have my MSSQL class. Okay. Now, when we expand, if we expand this, we see tables. So let's look at tables. Okay, so we see all these tables and AdventureWorks 2017. Okay. Now let's look at the class, my SSQL class. Here, we do not have any table on it. Okay. So we are going to use query to create a new table. Okay, so let me collapse this AdventureWorks because I only need MSSQL class. Okay, I'm going to create a new table. And notice that the table I am going to create is a basic table. Okay, I'm not going to use constraint. I'm not going to use a primary key or a foreign key. Okay, we're going to begin with the basic table. And then as we proceed, I may talk about how to create a table using the constraint. Okay, so this one is the basic one. And I'm going to use MSSQL, okay, to create. Okay, right here, you can see this is on the master, and I need to use this one. Okay, so I can select, I have to select that one, or I have to type in use MSS, and that pops up. Okay, so that's the one, that's the database I want to use. Okay, so either I show it, I indicate it here, so SQL will know that I'm creating a table under this database. Okay, so good. Now, what do? We are going to create a table, and the name calls for the query. So create table, we're going to create table. Okay, so now what is the name of the table that we're going to create? Let's say I'm going to create, because this is a class, let's use student info. So let's do student underscore info. So I have the name of the table. Okay, now I'm going to open parentheses. Okay, open parentheses, and then I'm going to use the column. I'm going to indicate the column. So this is the name of the table, and I'm going to indicate the columns I want to use. Okay, so I want to have last names. Oops, spell last name right. Last names, okay. Last name, and then I'm going to indicate the data type. Okay, so this data type will be, what data type? Virtual 30. Okay, and I don't want it to be null. Okay, so not null. All right, then I'm going to have next first names, first name of the student, and then I'm going to use virtual 25, and then I don't want it to be null either, so not null. And then I have birth date, so no, how old they are. Okay, date. Oops, this is a birth date. Okay, and then this is a date, so the data type is going to be dates. Okay, now I need to close with parentheses. Okay, so I close the parentheses. So I'm going to create this table showing columns, first name, last name, first name, and birth date. Okay, so these are the columns that are going to be shown in the table I'm going to create under MSSQL class. Okay, so let's go ahead and execute this query. Select it and click on the execute here, or you can F5 on your laptop or your computer. So execute, and it says commands completed successfully. Okay, now that we're done, we need to remember to refresh. Okay, so let's refresh it. It's refreshed. Let's go under this and let's look for the tables. Okay, so we see here the table is created, which is student info. Okay, now we want to see what is in the table. If the table is working, if we have the columns right. Okay, so we do that by using the select query. Okay, so we're going to use the select, and then we're going to select everything. So this asterisk says indicate that we are selecting everything from the table. And then from, so which table are we selecting from? Okay, so selecting from student info, you see it pops up here. So and then I select it, or I can do this, I can take and drag it over here. Okay, but I prefer to be lazy, so I'm just going to type student info and it pops up, and then I have it over there. Now I'm going to execute this query to see what comes up. I've selected it, execute. Okay, so I have the columns name here. So I have last name, first name, and birth date. I have the column. That is the point. That is what I was trying to achieve. I do not have any records in them. Okay, I don't have any record which is rows, and but the columns are there. That's more important. But I do not have any rows or so the columns are actually known as field, and rows known as records. So I do not have any records in them, but I have the columns here, and that is what I was trying to achieve just to for a start. Okay, so this is how you create a table without constraint. This doesn't have any constraint, doesn't have a primary key or foreign key. I hope that was helpful.